Whether you call it bootstrapping or indie hacking or side hustling or self-funding or just building a business, whatever you call your flavor of entrepreneurship, one thing we all have in common here is we're building something. So call me old school. I still think of what I do as bootstrapping. And I thought I would take a minute in this video to talk about what is bootstrapping to me. What do I actually do all day? And how do I measure whether I'm doing a good job at bootstrapping my business? And why do I choose to build my business this way as a bootstrapper compared to all the other ways that a business can be built? Let's get into it. All right, so at a very high level, I tend to think that there are two very different schools of thought when it comes to how we go about building a new business. There's the venture-backed startup approach, where you basically go out and raise a bunch of capital, usually built around just an idea, and then you staff up with a team, and then you build a product, and then you build a business, and hopefully from there you grow, and hopefully you grow very fast and very large. And there are some incredible businesses and companies and products that we use every day that have been built that way. And then there's the bootstrapped startup approach, which of course is the path that I've taken throughout my career and continue to take now. That can be summed up basically as I build a product and I then build a business, and from there I grow. Both of these approaches require a ton of work. Sometimes it's just unthinkable how much work goes into taking something new and building it out and growing as a business. So both ways, it's kind of an insane amount of work required, but that work looks very different. And even from one entrepreneur to the next, it looks completely different. I'd be willing to bet that even if you identify as a bootstrapper just like I do, I bet how you describe your day-to-day work and how you define success is probably pretty different from how I define it. And that's good. That's correct. It's supposed to be that way. You do you. There's no right or wrong way to build a business. It's one of the things that I love about being an entrepreneur. Now, I'm making this video to challenge you, especially if you identify as a bootstrapper like I do. Because as bootstrapped founders, we're faced with a pretty unique challenge. And that is, we have to hold two ideas in our minds all the time. One is we are builders. As people, we are builders. We're creative people. We have the skills of builders, and we want to be using our skills on a day-to-day basis. So whether you're a designer, a coder, a programmer, a marketer, you're probably all of these things. You have these skills, and this is what you do every day. But the other idea that we have to hold on to at all times is that we're building something bigger than ourselves. Yes, we want to do our best creative work, but we want more. To me, that's what bootstrapping is. It's being able to leverage my skills as a creative builder, because I design, I code, I build products, I talk to customers, I do sales, I do marketing, I do all of that. But I'm not here in this career to just do that. I'm here to build something bigger. And it can be very easy to fall back into the routine of a good professional creative worker in this industry. And I happen to think that a lot of bootstrappers and indie hackers and the like, they tend to be held back because they get stuck in that routine of just building and just creating and just surviving as a solo freelancer doing your own thing. And you can make a fantastic living. You can do some excellent work throughout your career. But to me, to be an entrepreneur is to want more, is to build more. Yes, I'm trying to survive as a solo. I'm trying to provide for my family. I want to build something even bigger than that. That's the ambition required to actually build a business. So how do we actually grow as a bootstrapper? We know that we want to do great work, and we know that we want to build something bigger than ourselves, but how are we actually doing at that? Are we doing a good job? How do we know if we're doing a good job? These are questions that I'm asking myself all the time. And I think that part of our job as an entrepreneur, especially a bootstrapped entrepreneur, is regularly stepping back and asking ourselves, how are we doing? How am I doing? How am I feeling about this? Am I seeing the results that I want? Because we don't have a manager. I don't have a boss. I don't even have business partners. I happen to be a solo founder. So I don't have anyone to answer to, and I have to perform my own performance reviews. I have to measure my own performance in some way. So how do we actually do that? Is it a financial scorecard, like our revenue graph or a profit or a customer count? For a long time, I used that as my measuring stick for success and to measure my own performance as an entrepreneur. But I don't think that that was right. I've come to learn that financial success in business is really just an outcome. It's certainly a goal, but it's really out of my direct control. I control what I work on every day. And so just looking at the revenue graph and the profit and the financial growth doesn't actually tell me how I'm doing at my job every day. And so I try to get myself into the habit of asking questions like, am I improving my batting average, or am I just taking a lot of swings? Am I going somewhere, or am I just spinning my wheels? Am I getting stronger, or am I just getting tired? So maybe being bootstrapper is a vibe, a feeling, but I'm going to try to make it a little bit more concrete than that. To me, bootstrapping a business is a cycle. It goes through 3 phases: build, delegate, and manage. And then it repeats. And the way that I measure my performance, or the way that I gut check how I'm doing here, is how often I'm able to repeat and cycle back to the building phase. Because if I can build something and then keep it running and delegate it and manage it, and then free myself up to build the next thing, that's how I actually stack on one brick after another. That's how I build and grow a business. And it's also how I grow as a professional and creative entrepreneur. Because if I don't reach that last step of repeating and cycling back to build the next thing, then I must have gotten stuck at some step in the cycle, whether it was the building phase, or I couldn't delegate it, or I couldn't manage it and sustain it. But as long as I'm continuing to feel that motion of cycling through these phases, sometimes they take a matter of weeks. Sometimes I spend years going through a cycle, and sometimes and often there are multiple cycles happening at the same time. That's ultimately how I think about this and how I have a sense of forward motion and growth. Now, I think it's important to remember that not every cycle has to result in a financial success in order for you to feel like you are doing a good job and making progress as a bootstrapped entrepreneur. Think about the game of baseball. Even the best hitters in the game only reach base 3 out of every 10 at-bats. So if the cycles that you're working through in your business don't result in a financial success, you can still pocket the byproducts, learn some things, pick up some new skills, maybe go down one path that leads to another path and a new idea for your next thing. And then from there, you take those learnings, you cycle back, and you build again. Or if it is a financial success and you're able to build and delegate and manage and it runs profitably, and then you cycle back, let's go. That's the goal. Now we're building. All right, let's get more concrete here, and I'll break down the bootstrapper's cycle as I see it in my day-to-day work. Starting with the build phase. I am a builder at my core. And so everything that I do, everything that I start, everything that I build in business begins with this build phase where the business requires that creative energy. And that's what I'm best equipped to invest into anything that I do. It's my personal energy as a builder. I design, I code, I put software products together, I talk to customers, I do sales, I create marketing sites, I do marketing work. I put the things together and I do it all myself with my bare hands. I'll try it multiple ways. I'll put something together and tear it all down and scrap it and start again. I'll consider all the different angles. I'll optimize, I'll tweak. I get in the weeds. I get technical. And that kind of work is the best energy that I can give to my business. Now, hopefully what I build starts to get some traction and get a level of success. And then you start to notice that it requires less creative energy and more sustainable energy. So instead of needing new creative work to be done or new things to be built, the business starts to need more repeatable tasks to be executed the same way again and again in order to sustain its success. Now, once I start to notice that pattern where the business requires less of my creative energy and more of that sustainable energy, that's my cue to shift gears in how I approach my job that day or that week or that month. That's my cue to move on into the next phase of the cycle, delegation. So in this phase, I'm thinking less about how do I build this and more about how does this thing continue to work when I'm not around? Or how will this work without me? And it's a challenging puzzle. I happen to like it, not quite as much as building new things with my hands, but I like this phase too because it's really challenging. It's really complex to think about what are the systems that are going to be required if I'm going to be able to fire myself and replace myself with someone else, or maybe replace myself with an automated system. Either way, we need to rethink what we've just built that's working and reconfigure it to work in a way that can continue to deliver results without requiring me to show up and do these repetitive tasks myself. This is really hard. It might be the hardest part of this whole cycle because you need to slow down in order to speed up. You can always do it faster yourself. You might even do it better yourself because at the end of the day, the choice is yours. You can build yourself a job, or you can build your way out of a job so that you can get back to building new things. And if you can do that, you've entered the management phase. Now, I know management can feel like a scary word, especially if you've never become a manager before. I also happen to know a lot of bootstrappers and indie hackers who have no interest in becoming a manager. I get it. You're a creative person, just like I am. You're a builder. You want to get your hands dirty. You're technical. You don't want to become a manager. But I'm going to challenge you to think differently about this because I don't see the management phase as something that's completely new or completely different from what we've always done. Actually, I look at this management phase as this is the payoff. This is the reward. We get to free ourselves up and still reap the benefits and the rewards and the profit and deliver value at scale that goes beyond just ourselves. If we've entered this management phase, then we've successfully removed ourselves from the things that we've built, and those things continue to produce. And so that's the payoff. And whatever picture in your mind that you've had of being a manager, or maybe you've experienced working under managers in your career, that doesn't have to be your experience as a manager. I happen to think that management is where I feel probably the most different from other founders that I know. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. I'm sure I am in a lot of areas. But to be honest, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, my small team and I, we have no one-on-one calls, no stand-up meetings. I don't track anybody's time. I try not to micromanage, but we still communicate and collaborate deeply and regularly every single day. We just do it 100% asynchronous. And we ship great products and we do it fast. I trust my team. I think that they trust me. And I'm proud to say that throughout my career, people I've been lucky enough to work with as team members have stuck with me and worked with me for multiple years. In some cases, they've even worked with me on one business and then came back years later to work with me on another business. And it brings me great pleasure and reward to build and bootstrap businesses and spend all my time building new stuff that I can continue to sustain and grow profitably with a really small, calm, focused, professional, high caliber team that I get to work with on a regular basis. So from where I sit, that's what bootstrapping a business looks like to me. I run a small product studio called Instrumental Products. My small team and I, we build and ship MVP products for clients. We also build and ship our own software products. And that's what this channel is all about, bootstrapping and building a products-based business. If that sounds interesting, hit that subscribe button and join us. And I would love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what you're building. and tell me what your biggest challenge is. And maybe I can make it one of the upcoming videos on this channel. Thanks for watching. See ya.